link. I only sent one link.
Okay, well, clearly I didn't use that link. I used our server. Because there's another, you sent it to the other one. Hold on. That's why she's not here. Poor Yemi. That's why she's... Okay, are you using it on your phone or are you using it on your computer?
I'm using it on my phone.
Okay, swipe left and click invite members and then invite Yemza to this one.
Okay. Invite. I don't... Oh, okay, I'll send it on WhatsApp. Okay, I sent her.
Okay, great. Great. Healthcare or healthcare?
No, healthcare or health scares.
Health scare or healthcare?
Not scared. I meant scared.
I'm doing it because I know it annoys you, man. I'm actually a very nice person, Bohlale. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm a nice person generally. I'm a nice person generally. I'm just an asshole when I'm an asshole just for the theater, you know?
For performing.
Yes, yeah. See?
I have a meeting. Could you close the door?
Health scare or healthcare? Thank you. Fucking Cam is a G, bro. Yes, I'm killing it. Killing it.
How much time do you have?
Oh, I only have the hour, but you know what? I'm going to extend it so that we can have the full hour-long podcast as opposed to a 20-minute podcast. There's Yemza. He's typing. Click general. Health scare or health care? Truth or die? Have you guys seen that skit on Saturday Night Live?
What?
Those people from like Long Island, they talk like that. Like, I don't know. Like that. Like daddy chill.
It's like they vibrate their voice at the end. And like they don't really say the full word.
Chill. Yeah, they don't say much, eh?
They just talk. You know, people that say a lot, but they really didn't say anything. Like the value of what they said was just
like listening to our president speak sometimes.
That's why I don't even listen to him speak, honestly. It's just like, what's the point? What am I going to gain? If anything, I'm just going to get upset and hopeless about this country, which I don't want to do.
All I really want is just fucking him to not tell us more bad news about him locking us down further again.
No, shame. It's not his fault, shame.
It's not his fault, it's your fault, you no-mask-wearing people. Who leave your houses every day. You people in Hatfield.
I don't wear masks. Who told you that?
It's you people in Hatfield, bro.
Who told you that I don't wear my mask? How do you know? You don't.
My Nkhehli tell me.
Your what?
My witchcraft tells me, dude.
Ew. You do witchcraft.
Yes, I'm a Sangoma on the side.
Really?
No,
when did you get your calling?
My calling now, man, it runs in the family. My grandfather was a Sangoma.
Oh, so now you feel like it's your social obligation, it's your duty to carry on the name, to carry on a legacy. You're so loyal, wow.
Oh, incredibly. I have to leave you for but a moment.
You have to what?
I have to leave you for but a moment while I get Yemza on board.
Okay, cool. Hello.
How the fuck is this? Like, am I?
Hi, Yemi.
Yeah,
okay.
I can hear you.
Huh?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, how do you put it on speaker?
I don't know. I'm not using it on speaker. I'm using it on my head. Wait, let me see. Thank you, Chris. Yeah,
let me just get earphones. It might be easier. Yeah, that was a mission.
You can. Sorry about that, eh? You can press settings. Nah. You press settings. Hello?
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, introduce yourselves, guys. I want to do that when we record.
Okay, yeah, Cam will tell us when he's recording. Okay, we can talk now.
Is Cameron recording though?
Yeah, he is. Hello there, guys. My name is Banathi. I'm a fourth-year law student. And what a pleasure it is to be here discussing the healthcare or health scare.
Yeah, guys. My name is Bohlale. I'm a psychology major. And yeah, I am the one who invited these lovely guests to come and speak with us to have this very important conversation, especially because the vaccine is now here. In a lot of countries, people have already started taking it. And there's still a lot of uncertainty, an air of uncertainty about the vaccine. Some people say they're not going to take it. Others say they are. Others say that everyone should have to take it because that one person that doesn't take it is putting everyone's life at risk, you know. But yeah, we're here to talk about that, and we're talking about that regarding people of color and the Black community. Yeah, has everybody introduced themselves?
Not Yemi.
Oh, Yemi?
Not you either, Cam. Hi,
Cameron
everyone.
doesn't speak. Cameron is just recording.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yemi. I am a third-year medical student at Tux. And yeah, I'm excited to speak to you guys about this topic. It sounds really interesting. So yeah, let's get started.
So what's the first point?
Yemi, can you give us a little bit of insight into what a vaccine is? Your medical point of view as to what it is, what it does, what are the pros and cons of taking a vaccine, and just how safe it is, so that we can address this issue that vaccines are actually unsafe and they cause things like autism spectrum disorder. So yeah.
Just to touch on that topic before I go into what vaccines are. Vaccines do not cause autism, guys. It has been disproven countless times. There is a plethora of different, articles
Myths
and journals and all kinds of things that you can go look up and find out that it is actually a lie. And it's based off of one scientific journal that has been disproved countless times since its release. So let's start off on that note. Vaccines, I don't have like a dictionary definition of what a vaccine is, but what I can tell you is that it's essentially used to make one's immune system sort of ready and to build the right machinery to fight any pathogen that somebody can be exposed to in the future. I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense?
Oh, so in other words, a vaccine is basically like giving your body the trial run of the actual disease so that it knows what to do when you actually get sick.
Exactly. And that trial run is a lot easier on your body than the actual pathogen. So you might have some adverse effects or side effects, but it would be nothing compared to actually being exposed to the pathogen for the first time.
So a vaccine, in other words, is basically, okay, I don't want to scare people, but it's essentially like getting yourself sick on purpose, but like not really.
Yeah. Yeah.
The spikes that people often refer to are actually on the surface of the protein coat. So there's a capsule, right? And inside is the genetic code of the virus, right? So that's basically what a virus is. It's a capsule, and then inside is the genetic information. So on the surface of the capsule, we have these protein spikes, and scientists can actually use this to detect what kind of virus is affecting the body. And they can also use this to expose us to that particular protein, so that once we are exposed, we know that, it's these guys, let's fight them.
Okay, well, that's cool. So where does all this hesitancy come from then, if that's what a vaccine in fact is? Because I've never heard an anti-vaxxer describe a vaccine like this, hey?
I think it's a lack of it's a lack of information. I think it's misinformation and leading from a point that is not backed up by anything. People that are easily misinformed by their family members because they trust them. It's kind of like that conversation that we had the other week about conspiracy theories, and about how the people that believe in conspiracy theories believe as strongly as you do that they're right, as you believe that they're right, because it's not like they deliberately try and mislead themselves. I mean, granted, there are some people that are just haters or whatever, but some people, they genuinely believe in what they believe in. Like, to them, as much as you believe in what you believe in, they also believe in what they believe in, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like they believe in whatever that conspiracy theory is because they're dumb or whatever. It's not an indication of intelligence. If anything, it's just an indication of passion. I don't know, like being loyal to what you believe in, regardless of how bizarre it can be, like religions, Yeah.
I think I agree with what Bohlale is saying, because a lot of these people come with anecdotal evidence. So it's really hard to dispute them, because as scientists and as doctors, we're coming from a factual basis, and we're coming from experimentation, and they're basing everything that they believe on like stories that they've heard, like what Bohlale just said, from their friends and their family members. So it's really hard to kind of convince them otherwise, or to try and make them see the other side, because their approach is completely different to ours.
Well, have you ever tried explaining the weight of their anecdotal evidence, contrasted against the broader evidence that we have? And in fact, in my days when I used to do history, a part of the things that we were actively discouraged from doing was placing too much value on anecdotal evidence.
Yeah.
Because history is not a one-man show. It's everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody contributes to the national record. It wasn't just Mandela protesting. Everyone was protesting the end of apartheid, So to get one perspective is inherently limited. So how often do we ever ascribe that limited nature to anecdotal evidence, especially when medicine's concerned?
You know what? I think I just feel as though people are just apprehensive. And although coming from a scientific background, I would recommend getting vaccinated, I do understand why people would be afraid to do so. Because there are a lot of things that have happened in history that make people sort of scared to trust doctors and scared to trust
authority.
Scientists. Because there's been, especially within the black community. At the Tuskegee, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that properly.
I know exactly.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't even have to go into that.
For the syphilis
exactly
one.
What I'm going to talk about. Yeah. So maybe, Bohlale, you can explain that further afterwards. But I think it's understandable why people would be very scared to have things put into their body. So that's why I think it's really important for us to really focus on explaining to people what it actually does and how our bodies work and why it's beneficial for us, rather than trying to dispute any anecdotal evidence that they may come with, And I use evidence in inverted commas.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I vibe with that.
Yeah.
I mean, if I have to refer to the case study that you've raised, you've raised now with black people in America when they were given vaccines that weren't actually vaccines for the Spanish flu, I believe.
Yeah. Yes.
But instead, they were given no medicine in the hopes that it was to see the placebo effect, correct?
Yeah. So with this particular Tuskegee experiment, what had happened was, I think a group of these African American men had syphilis, right? And another group, the control group, didn't have any syphilis. And what these people did is, like you said, they told them that they were being treated for bad blood. And bad blood at the time was kind of like a broad term that was used to explain any kind of pathogen that somebody would have in their blood. So like, I think anemia and syphilis is another example. So they were under the impression that they were getting treatment for their syphilis, whereas in fact they were given placebos, or saline water solutions, or sugar pills, under the premise that they were being treated, where in fact they weren't being treated. They were just trying to see how African American men, like if you left them untreated, what would be the effect?
How strong are they?
Yeah, what would be the effect of that? So I understand, honestly, truly, I understand why people would be really scared to put things into their body, because I mean, the history of medicine is quite scary, and I think it's important that we talk about that.
But
as well.
Again, then we have to ask ourselves the real question here now. Was the problem what they were putting in, or was the problem how that experiment was administered? Because often you find, and this is where you get into the very tricky and iffy conversation of ethics, especially when it comes to scientific and technological discoveries, because some of the most important things about the human body we've learned from most unethical experiments. Especially during World War II, with the Nazis who used to put Jews in pressure tanks to see how much pressure the human body could actually withstand. And they were only able to do it because they were Jews and so forth. So now must all of society be now apprehensive towards science and scientists, or just unethical science? Because that's what I'm really, because I'm actually quite opposed to conspiracy theories. Anyone who was here for the last conversation should be very aware that I get very pissed off with conspiracy theorists, because they're not thinking. They want people to think, but think stupid shit. Because people are too comfortable with being stupid. Granted,
it makes it easier.
Yeah, I'm not coming from an elitist perspective, because I'm an idiot as well. But I'm just not an idiot who buys any narrative. There's a difference, okay? The difference is there.
But you're not taking into account the privilege that you have to, and I know this might sound a little bit presumptuous of me, but I think you need to take that into account. You are a fourth-year law student. Some of these people have never opened a university textbook in their life. How are you now going to tell these people that they shouldn't feel how they feel or think how they think, because they haven't been exposed to the things that we have, And I think that's where privilege.
They don't have the knowledge bases.
Exactly.
I agree 100% with you.
Yeah.
And
so then.
That's where the shit.
It's really tricky, dog. I'm not gonna lie.
This is where I guess the contradiction starts, because look, I agree that I'm inherently privileged. I was born into post 1994 South Africa. I was given a very good education and so forth, But I'll give you a good example.
Have the accent. Can I just say you have the accent? The one that they don't tell you they want. But it's implicit.
I do,
But if you have an accent, you're almost a bit higher in brownie points towards getting a good job. True or false?
True. I wholly accept that.
Thank you. Good for you accents as well. Imagine.
He has that Model C vibe.
Bro, and I did go to a Model C school. But as I was saying, my grandmother, literally after we had the conspiracy theory live for PAM, my grandmother, who was born in the heat of, I'd say at the end of, more like at the dawn of migrant labor, and she lived through the heat of apartheid, right? She lives in rural KZN right now, where people believe that 5G towers cause COVID. My own grandmother literally said, telephone lines have existed from when I was a little girl.
Nonsense.
Why are the telephone lines getting us sick now? Get out of here with your nonsense. And she didn't even finish school because she went to school she was raised in a time where giving young girls education was not really a priority.
Yeah.
So it comes back to the fact that, look, I understand that my privilege gives me better tools to understand my information, but I think by solely rooting my privileges is the reason why I understand information the way I understand information.
Exactly, yeah.
It really does poor people a disservice. Because again, my grandmother lives in rural KZN where they only got electricity in 2017. You know?
Yeah.
So while I agree with you wholeheartedly that yes, my privilege is in fact indicative of how I understand my information, I don't think privilege is the sole determinant factor in understanding information. You know?
Because you do get educated people, the Trumpies of the world who are in fact anti-vaxxers, and they
the faculty of law is full of them.
It's not an indication of intelligence.
It's not.
It's really not.
I think it's really just access to information. I think that's what I was trying to refer to with privilege, because let's be real, guys, a lot of the media that you're surrounded by can dictate what you believe in. And oftentimes, if you've watched, things like The Social Dilemma, a lot of these things that we're exposed to are as a result of a lot of factors that we aren't even aware of, if that makes sense. So I feel like a lot of these people might not even be aware of the other side, and they might not even have, adequate information about vaccines, because they're constantly bombarded. Their media is completely filled with. Guys, I'm not trying to excuse them, please. I beg. I'm just
no. It actually exists.
Yeah.
It's called. That is actually called the online polarization effect.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's not. You're not speaking out of your ass.
Yeah. No, I didn't know that was a thing, but I mean, I truly believe that that has an effect, because what you see on your Instagram feed, your Twitter feed, does eventually somehow affect how you view life and whether you're going to take the vaccine or not, ultimately. And I think that's where it really stems from. A lot of it, maybe not most of it, but I think a lot of it comes from that.
Because the algorithm actually, it feeds, it limits our selection process. The algorithm feed, it limits what you can select and what you can be exposed to, because all the things end up looking the same. They're about the same thing. So you get stuck in this bubble, you kind of separate. You're not on the same planet, basically.
And then you start to believe that.
Because it's being repeated. It's the power of repetition,
Exactly.
That's how those are one of the techniques that in marketing they use when they're giving us adverts for us to remember something. Purple, Cadbury, you're seeing Cadbury all the time, always repeating a word over and over. So that you keep thinking about it. He's a walking testimony.
Dude, that shit was good though. Don't lie. Your mom gave you that as a kid.
No, it was.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
But also, we should also look at the other side. That this doesn't undermine the fact that some people actively limit themselves in terms of their feed by avoiding certain information to confirm their beliefs, like a confirmation bias. They only search certain types of things. So
but if we're being honest, though,
it's also it's a co-constituent relationship. Yeah, you were saying? Sorry.
I'm sorry for interrupting you, but if we're being honest, the confirmation bias has been there. If we're being real, hey?
Yeah, and we all have it.
Yeah, but I mean, in intrusive ways. Hey, here's a really good example. Especially in the faculty of law, man. I'm going to be dissing my peers a lot tonight. But these guys, a lot of the time, when you want to get into the nitty-gritty, especially when you want to start criticizing how our law has a very religious element to it. And mind you, I live a very secular life, but I too also inherently have some religiosity to me. Yeah. Although I am a very secular person. I find that a lot of the time is when you start to criticize things that people hold dear to them, you're not going to get through.
It becomes personal.
Anyone. It's personal. Yeah.
Too personal. To the point where even if you say legitimate things like, well, missionaries are a vehicle for colonialism, and any missionary work, even in today's context, is unethical, they'd be like, no, but you're introducing it to Jesus, because, it's the truth, though. How do you live in a liberal democracy
Yeah.
Evangelists. Yeah, how do you live in a liberal democracy where you accept, freedom of religion and then want to go out and force your religion on other people, telling them about Jesus Christ when they have Allah? Like what the fuck, bro? How's that ever been ethical? So when you explain that to people, even though it's factually correct, it's exactly what happened in the past when the settlers came. It's exactly what's happening now in places like Central Africa and Ethiopia. How do you balance that? Now, ultimately, you get people who are just like, no, it's too dear to me. And that brings me to the main point I want to make here, which is the most contentious point I think I'll be making tonight. But I feel, especially among Africans...
I doubt it.
Okay, yeah, I doubt it too. But I feel, especially among Africans, we have this thing of using our Africanness, in inverted commas, to excuse apprehension. So because we're black and African and we had an experience with Europeans that was bad in the past, now we can't trust anything Europeans do. And it's like, no, get the fuck out of here, bro.
Yeah.
It's not the same group of people, So... And then you get these really horrible politicians throughout the continent, even in our own South Africa, who are anti-vaxxers, who believe in that COVID fake news, who indulge in xenophobia, associated with COVID. It's crazy. The world we live in is absolute bonkers. And I feel like we should get out of this habit of taking things we hold valuable, because a person who truly holds things valuable, things they love valuable, will also be accept
emotions can cloud. Because emotions
a true patriot does not only know the good parts of their country's history, but they openly accept the shitty parts of their country's history as well. So I think it comes with that, though. If you're a Christian, you have to accept that Christians in the past were shitheads, were literal shitstones to humanity, and you have to accept that. If you really want to do good and be better. So again, with this apprehension towards vaccines and all these other things, we need to openly accept that there are shitty parts of the things we hold valuable that stop us from truly helping ourselves.
Yeah.
Like anthropology. The other day, we had, for one of our assignments, we had to find the relationship between anthropology and colonialism. And you know how it's ironic, because anthropology is all about studying culture and exposing, unequal government and how certain things in history have affected how our culture is now, things that have happened in the past. They relate to those things, But when I was reading and doing research for my assignments, I was shocked at how much it actually is very closely related to colonialism. Like anthropology used colonization to advance itself, and in that same way, because it advanced itself, the terms and conditions of that advancement was for anthropology to serve colonialism. So the stories that they did actually write about and the things that they did expose were highly censored, right? Censored to make colonization, either to make colonization seem much less impactful as it actually was in affecting those countries and cultures that they were observing, or downplaying the effects of it, or not speaking about it at all. So they'd even go to the extent of decontextualizing a story just so that they don't have to mention the warfare part of that story. They'll just not mention it in the story. Like the one, like comparing it, like the Bible to another word that someone said, and like trying to compare the verse and realizing that there's things missing. Like it's not the same thing. Like these are completely different things. Yeah.
Wow.
But again, it comes back to not really being open to criticizing yourself and self-awareness.
Yeah.
But then since we're already good on the health scare part, we have to also acknowledge the health care part. So like, as much as we understand that vaccines are actually a net positive to society, in fact, that's how we got rid of polio. We also have to understand that vaccines have side effects, and some of these side effects affect different people in the most radical and life-changing ways. Like, I have a cousin who literally cannot take the mumps and rubella vaccine because she gets seizures from them.
She gets what? Seizures.
She gets seizures.
Wow. Allergies or whatever it might be that makes people not being able to be vaccinated. I think it's really important that the rest of us, for whatever disease it is, we should get vaccinated.
Yemi, could you, for our audience, Yemi, could you just explain to them what herd immunity is?
Okay, so herd immunity essentially is where the majority, the vast majority of the population has been vaccinated, so that there are less contact points for the disease to get to those who might be vulnerable because they haven't been vaccinated, if that makes sense.
Oh, so it's basically like if all of us are wet in the swimming pool, there's less dry people out there.
Exactly.
Okay, no, that makes sense. Holy shit, bro. Yes. Then I guess my cousin's are safe from mumps and polio.
Yeah. So basically it means that not everybody has to be vaccinated. You just have to get this specific number and then we're fine.
Oh, but then again, like, how do you convince everyone to do that, especially in democracies? Is it democratic to, like, I actually had this very deep conversation with a friend of mine. It was about voting, but I think you can apply the same thing to getting your child vaccinated. Is it necessarily democratic to force everyone to get vaccinated, or to let the people who don't want to get vaccinated stay unvaccinated?
Because I think,
Because if you force people to get vaccinated, you eliminate freedom of choice. But if people who don't want to get vaccinated don't get vaccinated, then then there's no point to vaccination if a very sizable amount of us aren't getting vaccinated, you know? And our freedom of choice is restricted in that we don't want to get sick, you know? Hey, bro, fucking, this gave me a headache. I'm not gonna lie.
Does it only qualify as absolute
but then you're disconnecting
if everybody gets. Oh, why?
Just repeat what you said again. Your connection was a bit off. Just say it again.
Oh, sorry. I was saying, does it only, like, for people, does everybody have to be vaccinated though? And also, does it only count as absolute democracy if all the decisions are made through freedom of choice? Like, for it to be a democracy, if a country has to count as a democratic country, will all the decisions that they make have to be made democratically?
Well, it depends on how you understand democracy, hey? I will be honest with you.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but this is where ideas like decolonialism and shit come in, you know, because what does an African democracy look like, you know, when juxtaposed to an American democracy?
European democracy.
Or European democracy for that. You know, is our democracy the type of democracy that will force people to get vaccinated for everyone's well-being? You know, because we all agree that we all want to be healthy. Or is our democracy the kind of democracy, you know, like much like America's democracy, which values the freedoms, personal freedoms over the well-being of other people?
Yeah.
It's why they can't decide on guns, hey? It's why these guys can't decide
Also because every state has its own set of rules. It's like crazy out there. But finally, to answer your first question, can you hear, I don't know, your connection is a bit dizzy. Can you hear me?
I don't know why.
Yes, she can hear you.
Okay, cool. You asked about if everyone should get vaccinated in order for herd immunity to work. That wouldn't work because remember, the reason for herd immunity is to protect those who can't get vaccinated, people who have allergies, people who get seizures, etc. Right? So I think it's about 95 or 96% of people within whatever population that need to be vaccinated in order for herd immunity to work. Do you get? I get.
So what about places like Sweden, bro, where they said everyone must just get sick and then we'll get herd immunity that way? What was their logic?
Remember, the point of the vaccine is also for everyone to get sick, but it's a less sick version of the actual sick, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I remember that.
I think it's almost like a natural vaccine, you know, using closing off the borders. No one is coming in, no one is going out. Everyone is just going to be sick here, and we're going to see what we're going to do here. And then those that build immunity, and that's how we're going to achieve our herd immunity.
Yes, I remember now, Yemi.
Yeah.
Oh, man, but that's such a... but people are going to die that way, yo.
Hectic, I know, right? But at the moment, remember, this was like we're still in the pandemic, but this was like Parati inside. You know,
Parati, right in the beginning. Yeah, I remember. I remember.
So there was no vaccine at the time, you know. That was kind of the only option at the time. And I guess it worked for them because I think they were COVID free at some point. I'm not sure what it's like now, but I remember at
unfortunately, the Swedish people were very upset with their government because they lost a lot of friends along the way because of that.
Oh,
yeah, of course, granted, their death rates weren't as high as places like America and South Africa.
Yeah.
But, like, if you had to compare Sweden to similarly situated countries, so, like, Norway and all those other Scandinavian countries, they were actually the worst hit by the pandemic because of that. So there was more suffering, you know, for them. And as a result, they're very upset with their leaders for deciding that. It's quite tragic if you really think about it.
It is sad, but I think it's really at that point it was kind of just picking between the lesser of two evils. You know, like there wasn't much that could have been done. No one expected this pandemic to hit, and I think the leaders had to make really difficult decisions at the time. So, granted, everyone is upset about it, and they have every right to be sad. But I think at the time it was probably the best decision that they felt that they could make.
Oh, but in spite of all the people saying just lock down your country, like, I think lockdowns have proven to be effective throughout history.
Yeah.
Mind you, lockdowns are not just a new innovation, hey?
Yeah.
Lockdowns have existed since the time of the end of the Roman Empire, hey?
Yes.
Like, even the Romans are like, if all the sick people stay at home and all the healthy people stay at home, no one's going to get sick. No new people are going to get sick.
COVID needs people to move around, to move around.
Exactly.
It's not going to get up and start
it basically uses you as people. It basically uses you as transport. Basically.
As a vector, yes. You know, so it's hitchhiking on human beings.
Exactly.
So, lady, what would you say to your peers now, after we've had these discussions, after we now know why people are scared, we now know why taking a vaccine makes us care for one another, right, and how it's not compassionate to refuse to take a vaccine. Mm-hmm. What would you say to people who are still like, no, but I don't want to take the vaccine?
Oh, that's a tough one. That's a really, really tough one, because I think your approach is really, really vital in that. Because obviously we want people to take the vaccine, but they have their own personal autonomy. They have every right to do what they want with their bodies, right? And we can't take that away from them. So I think the approach is really important in trying to make them understand how the vaccine works, how previous vaccines have worked, and how herd immunity works as well. And maybe then you can bring them onto the vaccinated side. But I think it's really important to just focus on your approach and focus on just relaying the information in a way that could be easily
received better.
Yeah.
I think also...
And also, sorry, but I need to cut you. It's also important to not be sort of condescending with your approach, because no one is going to listen to someone who's saying, you need to do this vaccine. If you don't, then you're a dumb person.
Way to call me out, Yemi.
It's really important to be compassionate. I think that's one of the fundamental things that I would recommend. But I don't know, guys. If somebody does want to get vaccinated, you can't force them to, Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But it's also, like, I agree with what you're saying. It's about being cognizant of exceptional circumstances, because you don't know everybody's story, everybody's reason why they're not doing what they're doing. You just have to respect their decision as well, because, by not allowing them to make this decision, you're undermining their individuality and their right to...
And their experiences.
Exactly. And their dignity, basically, I think we just have to handle the situation with, like you said, a lot of compassion and just empathy, because you never know what someone went through. You don't know what their story is. You don't know my pain.
You don't know me.
Yeah. So we just have to be open-minded and inform people. Try and do our best to ensure that people aren't making their decisions based on misinformation. At least then we've done our part. Because then they'll be making their decision for themselves, not because they don't know, not because of a lack of knowledge, but because, they just chose that decision because they actually chose it, That's my approach about a lot of things in life, actually. I'd rather inform you, not judge you. Just inform you so that you know. And then
just let you know that, hey, listen, this is it,
I love the energy in this room.
Pardon?
I love the energy in this room.
Yeah, like... there's no reason for a lot of problems that we have in this world are because people don't want to understand. They don't want to have conversations. They just want to make what can I call them? They just want to make like critical analyzations, like not to see your similarities and how you guys have common ground, but to rather see your differences. Exactly. Yeah, people are very narrow-minded. Like their lens is very obscured as a result.
Yeah.
And so also, yeah.
And I think that sorry, just to add on that final point, I feel like if you are able to, in inverted commas, win somebody over in that approach, you're most likely to win a ton of other people over as well, because they would be able to convince people who are like-minded to them to maybe have a look at the other side, Like, listen, I was also anti-vaxxer, but, Yemi told me XYZ and let's do this thing, So,
and then if you don't decide to do XYZ, then at least you have the option to choose for yourself.
Exactly.
It's not like you feel robbed of your rights to make a decision for yourself and express your agency. Because now, if you choose that, then at least you chose it from your chest. You're not being made a decision on your behalf. You're not being treated like a child.
But what about situations, Piers? Hey, this is a very tough one for me, honestly. That's why I should never become the president of a country. I'd be a dictator straight up. But like.
Okay, thank you for the honesty.
What happens now? And I'll have to do. This is such a tough thing, honestly. This is a very difficult thing. What happens now when people are like, I don't want my child going to school. I don't want my child going to school with Yemi's child because Yemi has not vaccinated her daughter yet. And she's going to trouble all the other children since she's not vaccinated. She refuses to get vaccinated for no valid reason. In fact, what if it comes to the point where I'm like, well, we have to pull your child out of school if she's not going to get vaccinated, bro? Because it's not in the interest of it's not in the other children's best interest if your child isn't vaccinated. But it's not in your child's best interest if she's not at school. So what then? What do you tell an anti-vaxxer then, bro? Because I know for a fact, like I'm even willing to bet my left kidney on it. People will automatically start to call this country communistic dictatorship if we ever had to land up in situations like that.
Oh yeah, that I would say we will deal with that problem when we get there.
No, where's the compassion now? Where's the energy?
It's tricky. I agree with you, Banathi. Like it's a sensitive topic because these are things that could actually happen,
Of course, they are happening.
In that case, I'm pretty sure there will be a ton of other anti-vaxxers that are still around, and they might choose to send all of their children to one school, and that's what I would suggest. Honestly, I can't think, or maybe online school needs to be a thing until they figure it out.
I was about to say, wouldn't that be a problem for public health, having all those unvaccinated kids mutating a virus?
Yeah. But hopefully by then, right, we would have reached herd immunity and it wouldn't be a problem anymore,
That's based on, like, prospects that haven't been true. It's like, hopefully,
hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. But what
are there any failures you guys can think of, like, that brought us to this situation? Like, what do you think the biggest failure was that brought us to the situation where people are so antsy about getting the vaccine, so much they're willing to invoke Satan's name?
Okay, let me tell
those aunties on WhatsApp. Those very same aunties that want to now be sending you and don't get put onion inside of the room.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. Where it'll show like a picture of Jesus on the cross, and words in the background, and like a big face there behind.
But yeah, no, I think it's a lot of information. Like just an abundance of information that's out there that's easily accessible. People can literally write anything and put it out there and just make it look presentable, and anyone will believe it. And I think
and say I have a blog.
Exactly, I have a blog or cite Wikipedia or whatever it is, So
the problem with that is people don't like to check that the information that they're consuming is peer reviewed.
Exactly.
If it's peer reviewed, it's so much easier for you to at
more
least annihilate
credible.
those. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like those. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are some peer reviewed works out there that actually were fake or whatever, or not credible.
Yeah.
The
But
vaccine guy, vaccine for autism guy.
yeah,
Yeah.
like
I don't think his work was even his or hers or whatever. I don't
Mhm.
think their work was peer reviewed. Hey, I think it was just one journal, one journal on its own.
Yikes.
Yeah, but anyways, let's leave that one aside.
story for
I don't
another
know.
day.
I can't really even say that it's the abundance of information, bro.
I think there are many factors to
I
this.
think
There's
it's
no singular
multifactorial
reason.
for
There's
sure.
no
Yeah,
there's
it's
no
Yeah,
you
but I
want
would
to
say
singular.
that would be
otherwise
like
you'll
one
be
of the main.
oversimplifying. You'll be undermining the severity of this issue. It's contributed to by many factors. It's not just
Yeah.
one. There's no one singular reason to explain
Yeah.
this. Another
Yeah.
reason, for example, is how medical science was used before as a tool to further racist interests. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
The government in the olden days, I mean, come on, we come from times of slavery, which means before slavery was actually not prohibited by the law, which means the law supported slavery at one point. And it's the same law that people like to say we should all put our trust in, but it's failed us
You're
before.
brilliant,
you know?
Yemi. You're brilliant. You should be a lawyer.
Yeah.
No, I should be a lawyer.
You should be a lawyer. What are you talking? It's like you've done some of the subjects we took, bro.
No, that's because I do anthropology as well.
Oh, wow.
That's how I'm in the post. The post, I mean, why would I be in PAM if I didn't do anthropology? Are there some people that didn't do anthropology that are in PAM?
Yeah, quite a few.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was mostly...
But
Anyway.
you know the barbs.
I would agree with you, Bohlale. I think it's definitely something that's multifactorial. There are many, many factors that, contribute towards people's mistrust in the vaccine or just healthcare as a whole.
The pharmaceutical company. Oh my God.
Pharmaceutical companies, capitalism. So I go on, guys. Like, it's a lot.
Like, honestly.
Again, but then how do people benefit from being scared from vaccine? Who benefits financially from that?
Exactly. That's a question to be asking. That's the first question that I ask. If there is a capitalist ulterior motive, then I'm a bit more skeptical. But that's how I gauge how skeptical I must be about something, especially that's given by the government. Like this rain thing. I don't know, like who gains money from people buying this rain data or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is. But I'm hearing stories about chips. Like, I don't know, like why are there such, I don't know. Do you think that's representative of something's quality? Or do you think that's just people randomly choosing things to conspire against? Do you understand?
Well, that's how conspiracy theories work, though. You have to take these huge leaps in logic for something to make sense, You have to go, so because I woke up this morning and my door was open, because it was cold in the room that morning, aliens visited me last night. You have to take
they must
be willing to go those miles.
But what a ground, honest to God, and that's why I really wish more people did history, or at least they taught history better at school.
That's why I think, oh gosh, there's so much that we don't know, because also, can I just add, before you say people should have done history, it also depends on what kind of history, because the history that we know and have, as we know it, is actually very flawed and very much based on Eurocentric narratives that heavily undermine and severely oversimplify African history. The history that we know that's related to Africa is only the history that portrays Africa as surrendering and losing land and sad and hungry with saggy boobs and swollen stomachs and in the sun it's hot. That's the kind of Africa that we have an image of. We don't have the Africa showing how rich we were, the different economic systems and developments that we've made before colonialism even happened. Now, any advancements and developments that have been made, economic developments, for example, they will be attributed to westernization. People will just assume that the credit is owed to westernization because they associate developments and advancements with colonialism, because actual history that shows Africa being in the position where it is winning, where it is developing itself, where it is coming up with these innovative advances in history, it's not shown. Our history is very scant as a result.
Yeah, Africans were the first people who started smelting iron, actually, but that's a conversation for another day. What I'm more focused on when it comes to history is reasoning. So what you're talking about, Bohlale, is very valid and important, but that's focusing on the content, the substance of history. I want people to have a framework, an understanding of how historians come to their conclusions. And historians are not like conspiracy theorists, and they're not philosophers because of two things. Historians need evidence when they come to a decision. And to come to a conclusion, especially when it's something you can't really experiment with in the same way the sciences can, you have to do a bit of inductive and deductive reasoning. And I feel like at schools, if you could teach that skill, especially in a subject like history, no one would fucking fall for stupid information. Honestly, I'm willing to bet my right lung on this one. My organs are gonna go everywhere.
They're going
exactly.
today.
I'm like, wow.
But I'm saying, like, if people can just be a little bit more, like, honed into critically engaging with information, as opposed to reading a story and going, oh my god, I know the truth now. It should be, okay, nice, aight, bro, I'll take that into consideration. And then, they go outside and it's like, I have a friend, unfortunately, who they'll tell him that the sky is purple one day, and then he'll believe the sky is purple. Then someone will tell him the sky is red the next day, and he'll believe the sky is red. I want to ask him, what color does he actually think the sky is? Because I don't think he'll be able to tell me what he thinks the sky looks like.
People don't know how to think for themselves. That also speaks to how lacking our educational system is. It's very lacking.
Again, sometimes as much as you want to blame the algorithm, as much as you want to blame the algorithm for why stupid people end up believing what they believe in, I think it comes down to, I think we should teach people how to believe and how to think, If you're stuck thinking, okay, now I'm a bit fascistic, of course, but if you're stuck focusing on, like, the substance of what someone's telling you, you lose the valid frameworks. And unfortunately, even ideas like feminism and Pan-Africanism go under the radar here as well, because you lose a lot of that critical edge. Think about it, guys. We come from the 60s, and feminists are only now thinking, maybe we should be intersectional. How long did it take? How long did feminists go uncriticized before they realized that they weren't intersectional?
Can we also, as much as it's very valid for you to highlight how feminists themselves are contributing to their own problems and they're feeding into the wider system. No. I just want to say, can we also just recognize that they are going against the grain here? They're swimming against the wave. The system as we know it is working against them to make them not to be feminists, to make them to be,
so it's gonna take
women
some time.
have more pressures. Exactly. We have pressures. Yeah. So, okay.
Same thing with Pan-Africanism too. I was getting to Pan-Africanism. Pan-Africanism can be a very powerful tool to give Africans confidence in themselves and in their own ideas. But often, and what I'm seeing now, especially in parties like the EFF and some sectors of the ANC, Pan-Africanism is a vehicle for racism, where black people can excuse their racism towards white people. It's that simple. When you go and tell Afrikaans people to go back to Europe, bro, tell me, before 1652, where were people speaking Afrikaans? Afrikaans is an African language. There's no two ways about it. From a historical perspective, it originates here. Most of our Afrikaans speakers aren't even white in this country, bro. They're colored, and they're proud of that fact. So again, how is it that we don't criticize these wider frameworks? And you see how, because of this lack of criticism, because we accept the truth, because mind you, Pan-Africanists have good arguments, right? Because some good arguments are there does not mean it's perfect.
But I think that also it goes to show how powerful sentiment is, like somebody, and like how deceiving the heart is, and going with just your emotions. Emotions cloud judgment, and
exactly.
Like people hold on to their sentiments so much that they use culture. For example, they like to use culture as a justification for their behavior. Oh no, I'm an angry person because I'm Zulu. Sorry if you're Zulu, Banathi, but I'm just giving an example. I am Zulu,
thank you very much.
Like people use their culture as a tool, like it's like symbolic for them. It doesn't just go down to the definition of culture that we know. It's used as a tool to pursue political interests. For example, Jacob Zuma, when he was running for president, he used to use this thing of I'm Zulu, you're Zulu, vote for me, so that we are loyal to each other.
I know
to
very
appeal
well,
to
bro.
Zulu,
I lived
to
through
appeal
that
to
in
Zulu voters.
KZN.
That just shows how powerful sentiment is. Like, just as long as you've convinced somebody with their heart, it's very easy for them to not be accessible for you. You know what I'm saying?
Just to build on that sentiment idea, you can even see how sentiment makes us consent into horrible ideas. Just building off your Zulu thing, you know. I must admit, and my Zulu brothers, we are fucking sexist, hey? You know, there's a horrible saying that a lot of Zulu guys use, especially where I'm from. In Dotom Zulu. So you normally say that.
I know what that means.
Yeah, but for our peers who won't understand, it means you don't ask a Zulu man questions, you know, and it's typically used when you talk to women. And yikes. That's gonna be a fat yikes for me.
There's this belief that goes around that, as a woman, you shouldn't bother yourself looking for anything, like trying to figure out if your boyfriend is cheating, is he not cheating. Don't look for it, because whatever you find, whatever you look for, you'll find. Whatever that thing is you're looking for, you'll find it. So then they find out, when these women end up finding, no, he's been cheating on me all along. The old ladies that are supposed to be there to console you, because this is part of their tradition, they'll say, no, but what were you looking for? What were you doing there? Who said you must go there? Like, they
Dude, and my mom is like that too, bro.
Yeah, they're like comfortable living in this, like, ignorance is bliss. That's where the saying of ignorance is bliss is. They're comfortable living in this bubble of not knowing, because then it means they don't have to know the bad things. And although they're limiting how deep a connection can be with their significant other, it doesn't matter, because as long as they're minimizing the pain. So it's kind of like they're living in this delusion, kind of like believing what they want to believe and being selective about what will contribute to their reality. You understand?
The fucked up thing is that this is exactly what how anti-vaxxers think. And people who are too scared of getting the vaccine thing. You know, they're scared that if they go beyond and find information that they're not comfortable with, they're going to have to come to the fact that they're stupid, you know? Yeah. Like, oh my God, I was stupid. It happens to me all the time, bro. Trust me. Like, I use this word so frivolously because I know I'm an idiot too. Like, it's not because I think I'm better than people. You know, I know stupid because I've been stupid. And unfortunately, it's very uncomfortable when you realize that you used to start a lot of this shit publicly. And then you're like, holy shit.
Like, sometimes... Yemi and I will be just thinking about, like, the problematic things we have said when we're younger and uninformed. You see how misinformation can be so problematic. But anyway, when we're younger and uninformed and we just didn't know, we're just saying, we always, we celebrate over the fact that we didn't have Twitter. And if we did have Twitter, we didn't verbalize those things. Because so many people are being cancelled now because people are finding things from 2006 saying, no, this guy's racist. Look what he said. Or this guy is sexist. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's a rapist apologist or whatever. And it's like things that they said when they were young and also naive. And it's something that could have happened to anyone. You know, when we're young, we just don't know enough. We haven't had the experience, let alone, you know, I'm just saying, we don't have the experience, and that contributes to why we don't know things. So it's very easy for you to find yourself saying things that you have no business saying, things that are not actually correct. And then people will find them on Twitter. So I'm so glad I did not have Twitter, because cancel culture is a thing nowadays, and it is destroying a lot of careers.
Cancel culture. Parts of it.
Cancel culture is just there for people who are very insecure and they want to feel like they're doing something. Honestly,
I completely agree with you, Banathi.
Like, tell me, guys, how does canceling someone who said one racist thing make the lives of all black people better? Like, honestly, it's so stupid.
Truly.
It does nothing, dude. But again, you know, people want to be right. And it's a similar thing. This desire to be right also keeps people from wanting to look further into things. And I guess it can come back very well to health scare or health care. You know?
That's the topic.
No, like that literally shows how complex the situation is. There's no single answer that can help explain why one person makes the decision that they do make. There are a lot of contributing factors here that we have to take into account. And that also is not... It does not exclude vaccinations, and especially vaccinations among the Black community. So yeah, guys, thank you for contributing your guys' opinions and for speaking so wonderfully. This was a lovely conversation. I enjoyed it. I don't know about you, but I really enjoyed this conversation. Yeah, and we were really able to show how things are intersectional and how we shouldn't have this one-dimensional view of seeing things. And we should be more holistic with our approach, you know, and be context-specific, you know, because contexts really speak volumes and they're often very implicit. So yeah, anyway, thank you guys for coming.
Thank you for having us.
Do you have any last remarks that you want to make, or?
Yes, you girls. I must spoil you guys, man. You guys are actually very nice to talk to. When the world is done ending, I must spoil you guys to like some coffee or something, man. You guys are wonderful.
Oh, that would
Thank
be
you,
lovely.
Banathi. That would be
Thank
nice.
you.
Yeah, that would be nice, definitely.
Yeah.
Or otherwise, if all else fails, we can meet by Food Lovers by the tomato section. I'll see you there. I'll be the
I'll
lady
see you there.
Next
I'll
to
see you
the
there. I'll see you there.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, guys. This is wonderful. Mwah.